Hey, my name's Jason Creel and you're watching The Lawn Care Life. Recently, I had an experience I thought you would maybe get a kick out of. I want to share with you a mistake that I made, tell you the story, and how basically with one incorrect phone call, I made 5 people totally confused, including myself. There's a lesson to be learned from it. Stay tuned, I'll tell you the details. Okay, yeah, I made a mistake and I want to tell you the story and tell you what I've learned from it, and thought you might enjoy the story. So here's what happened. I got a couple of phone calls the other day, one from a customer and the other from somebody that was looking to send me some more business, okay? Both left me voicemails. I talked to each of them. The customer was unhappy with the quality of their service. They have Dallas grass in their backyards, a new customer I got this year. I've tried to explain to her in detail that I am working on the Dallas grass, that I can get rid of it, but it's gonna take some time. So I was talking to her about that situation. Then I get a phone call from this other lady who is a lawn care business owner, and that she does maintenance and landscape installations and that sort of thing. Well, she was thinking about sending me some potential customers, and I had a long conversation with her about the potential of taking on some of these properties from a weed control and fertilization standpoint. Okay, so 2 separate conversations, same day. I talked to both of them. Both had left me a voicemail, and I think I called them back. So, so what happened next? Here's what happened. The one that was sending me the business for the landscape person that was wanting me to give a quote on some of these properties, the properties are out of my, the property's a little bit out of my, prime territory. So I was hesitant to take them on. I explained that to her. She was very nice, very understanding about that. And I told her, I said, you know what, if I don't do them, I've got somebody else that lives close to that area who I could recommend who would be able to take care of them for you. She was totally understanding. The other lady, again, had a long conversation with her about her Dallas grass. She was not as understanding, but, was still working with me on it. So, here's what happened. I told the first lady about the new property. I said, let me call you back, and let you know. So I call her back the next day. I have these voicemails. It's about lunchtime the next day. I need to let her know that, hey, I've decided not to bid on these properties, but I'm going to let this other guy, a friend of mine who works in that area, he can do a good job. I'm gonna let you use him. So what I do, I look back, I have 2 voicemails on the phone. I think I know which one I'm calling. I called the wrong number, okay? I thought I was calling the lady who was sending me the landscaping, the landscape lady who was sending me these yards to bid on. I was actually calling the somewhat disgruntled customer who had Dallas grass in her backyard. But I didn't know that at the time. I still didn't know it hours later. I call her, I said something to this effect. Hey, this is Jason, and I hate to turn down business, but I think I'm gonna let somebody else take that property and bid on it. He'll be able to do a good job for you. And I'm thinking, this lady yesterday was very talkative, very friendly. We talked out, she seemed very understanding. In this phone call, she seemed quite short with me and just said, okay. And she took down the name and number of the other guy, the other company I recommended, and she just said bye. And I thought, well, maybe she's disappointed I'm not doing it. Well, it turns out the reason she was disappointed because it wasn't the right person I was talking to. I was actually talking to the disgruntled person who had the Dallas grass. So she thinks after this long conversation, me smoothing things over about the Dallas grass, telling her that I'm working on it, we're gonna get it straightened out, that I changed my mind, call her back the very next day and say I'm not gonna do her lawn anymore, I'm gonna give it to this other guy. Well, that wasn't my intention. I meant to call the other person, you get the point. So, what happened then? I didn't, and after the conversation was over, I still didn't realize I'd called the wrong person. I just thought, well, she was kind of short with me, but that's okay, understandable. So, what happened next? Hours later, I get a text message from a friend of mine who has a mowing business. He's the one who sent the disgruntled lady to me to start with, okay, with the Dallas grass. And he texts me, he says, I heard the bad news. I text him back, I say, what bad news? He said, I heard you let her go. And I just called him. I said, what do you mean let her go? I didn't let her go. I said, we talked yesterday. I hadn't called her today. I'm planning on going out there Monday and working on the Dallas grass. He said, well, she called me and told me that you called her and let her go and that you didn't want to do her yard anymore and that you gave her the name of another company to come do it. I said, I ain't no more called her from anything. I said, I called her yesterday and told her, yeah, I was gonna work on the Dallas grass, gonna take time, I'll be out there Monday. So, you know, and so he says, well, I'm totally confused. I said, well, I'm totally confused. I said, listen, I did not call her today and cancel on her yard. I don't just go around firing customers. You know, I said, we talked it out and I'm gonna be out there Monday. And so we hang up. He says, well, let me call her. He said, I need to get to the bottom of this, figure out what's going on. Well, when we hung up, I go back and look at my phone, and I literally had no idea what's going on. And I look at my phone, I say, okay, then it hit me. I realized what I'd done. There were 2 voicemails. I didn't actually listen to the voicemails at this time when I was calling the person back. I listened to them originally, but I just picked, I thought I knew which number went to which person, and I dialed the wrong number. So I immediately called him back. I say, listen, I said, she's right. I did actually call her and tell her that, you know, I wasn't gonna do her yard and call this other company. I said, but it was a mistake. I meant to be calling this other landscaping girl who was sending me some high-end properties that are a little bit out of my way, and giving them to somebody else. And he laughed. He thought that was just hilarious. He said, let me talk to her. He said, I'll work this out. He said, don't worry. So at this point, you count up how many people are confused. I'm confused. You know, I was utterly confused up until that very moment. The mowing guy who gave me that customer, he was totally confused because his customers called and told him that I've canceled on her. And I told him, I said, no, I hadn't canceled on her. I don't know what she's talking about. He's confused. The lady who has the Dallas grass is confused because the day before I had told her, hey, I'm coming to do your yard on Monday, and I call her back the next day and say, I'm not going to do it anymore. Why don't you use this other company? The lady the high-end landscaper lady, she's confused because I thought I had called her at lunch and told her I wasn't gonna do it. Turns out I hadn't called her at all. And then my friend who does weed control, who I was actually giving the yards to for this high-end landscaper lady, he's confused because I told him that this lady was gonna call him and want him to bid on these high-end properties. And I called him back and said, did she call? He said, no, she didn't call. I was like, well, you know why she didn't call? Because I never called her. I called a wrong person and gave her your number. So 5 people confused. So I had to call them back, make phone calls. The mowing guy, who's the one that gave me the disgruntled customer, ended up being able to smooth things out with her. Told her it was an honest mistake. I dialed the wrong number. I communicated with my friend who's got the weed control business I was going to give the other properties to. I said, hey, listen, sorry, I made a mistake. She should still be calling, but I gave your number to the wrong person. So anyway, enough of the story. So what's the point of this? Well, point is I made a mistake, and you're gonna make mistakes, and that's part of it. And fortunately, with the help of a friend, I was able to sort of get it smoothed out and, minimal damage done. I think what I learned is, I get in a hurry, I get busy. I think, I'm just sitting there dialing numbers, making phone calls, trying to do yards. Sometimes you got to slow down and think about what you're doing before you do it. That was my mistake. I rushed through there, dialed the number without listening to the voicemail again, and ended up talking to the wrong person. But you know what, this brought up another point, and this has something to do with another industry and just about professionalism. I'm not saying I handled that totally professional. I could have done a lot of things different. I think, you can't just go hide when you screw up. You got to face the facts, apologize for what you've done, try to make it right. That's basically, all you can do at that point. I don't know what else to do. And to switch gears just a second, I recently had somebody come give me a quote on some service we're having done at our house, not landscaping related. But the fact of the matter is, when I deal with people who are in other industries and service businesses, I have an expectation of what a service provider how they should treat their customer, because I know, that's what I do. I want to treat my customer in a certain way that's going to give them confidence that I can do the job and then deliver the job. Well, I called somebody for a particular service. This person was recommended to me, and I say, hey, listen, when are you coming to give a bid? Because he said it'd be the next day or two. Well, one day went by, the next day came. I said, let me call him. I said, hey, I'm not trying to bug you. I just need to know when you're coming so I can plan accordingly. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll be there first thing in the morning, 7:45 or 8 o'clock. I said, that's perfect. 8:10 the next morning comes around. He doesn't show up. I call him. I say, hey, what's going on? You know, he says, oh, I got running behind this morning. It's going to be another 30, 40 minutes. You know, I'm sorry. My apologies, that sort of thing. I said, that's fine. I'm going to run, do some things. I'll be back. I'll meet you here. He shows up. He seems like he knows what he's doing, gets me a measurement. He says, hey, I'm going to call you here in just a minute with the price. The day goes by, I never hear from him. Finally, I text him the next day. I said, hey, you got a price for me? You know, and he texted me a price. He said, for part of it, he said, I'll get you the other price on Tuesday. Point is, I've had to basically like ask him over and over, you know, do you have the price? Do you have the price? Fortunately for him, I'm not getting a lot of quotes here. The point is this, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, about just being in the lawn business. So many people, I'm serious about this. This may sound oversimplistic here. If you can just show up on time, look presentable, and do a decent job, the fact of the matter is you're already ahead of the game. And that's why you know, when I see people like this, I'm like, you know, he's probably skilled at what he does. He probably does a good job. But the fact that he's so unprofessional and can't follow through on his quotes and be timely and punctual is really killing his business, and it's going to ultimately cost him for having any kind of real success. Let that be a reminder to us in the lawn business. Again, if you can just show up on time and look professional and do a decent job, you're going to probably have a lot of opportunity. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of people can't even do those basic things. So be professional. You know, another thing, when you call them and it says this person does not have a voicemail box set up. If you're using your cell phone as your business phone, you know, we were talking the other day with a friend. He was saying about having your mailbox full. Well, it's one thing to have it full. It's another thing to have never set up a voicemail, period. I mean, it just comes across as very unprofessional. I'm not saying you got to do it. I'm just saying it comes across very unprofessional. So to have somebody be able to leave a message, to call them back, to get out there in a timely manner, providing a quote, if we can do those things in the lawn business, you're going to set yourself apart from a lot of your competitors. And that's why I just think, you know, for you guys, understand that a lot of your competitors probably aren't able to do those basic things. So, you know, have that little bit of professionalism about you, and it's going to give you an advantage. Not to necessarily become a millionaire, but to at least earn the respect and start to be recommended by other people. Because you know what, in good conscience, I'm gonna have a hard time recommending this guy, even if he does a great job, because I've had to initiate about 3 different steps of the process that he should have been seeking out my business. I've had to sort of beg him along the way. So anyway, hope this video helps. Let me hear from you on my situation, my story there, the mistake I made, wrong phone call, confused 5 people, whatever. Get a laugh out of it if you want to. I screwed up. And let me hear from you on that. If you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Sometimes we entertain you, but sometimes, hopefully, with the entertainment comes some real business value as well. So I think the channel's going well. I'm glad that many of you enjoy it. Leave your comments below and check out these suggested videos. Thanks a lot.